Hey guys, thanks for tuning into my channel today. I haven't released a video in a while. Thought I would do an audio one today. I actually came across an interesting article on the internet. It was off Bloomberg Business Week. The story is from 2009, but the title of the story, Under the Table Pay is Unacceptable. And I guess this kind of pertains to me because I have my own business. And the story basically gives the pros of, uh, not paying under the table and gives the cons and such. It also um, basically gives the pros and cons of working under the table and such. For people that are having a hard time, they don't make a lot of money and such. They benefit by working under the table because then they have to pay less taxes, and since they don't make that much money to begin with, you know they uh, you know they want to pay as less taxes as possible because every dollar counts when when you're in the range of the poor income family and such. But what I guess I have to start off by saying is that, how can I say this? It's like a vicious cycle. Um, like they have reasons for why they have all these things in place for a business. Like for my business, I had to go out and get a business license. I had to get liability insurance. You know, Depending on what cleaning job I do, I have to be bonded. If I hire a full-time employee, I have to pay workman's comp. And then I also have to get a sales tax license. And so for my state of Pennsylvania, it's 6%. And in addition to that, I got to pay roughly 15% in income tax at the end of the year. Um, that's all nice, I guess, if everybody followed the rules, and everybody had to do the same thing, then prices would be competitive, for any business, that decided to start, let's say, a residential cleaning business. And like my business, I offer multiple services, such as like landscaping and moving and cleaning and graphic design. Um, One of the services I actually had to get rid of for my 2013 year was residential cleaning. It's just I had a few residential cleaning jobs, and I think the highest one that paid was like $15 an hour for my area, which isn't very much, to be honest with you, especially if I have to bring somebody in and I'm paying them, $10 an hour or $8 to $10 an hour. I'm really not making that much money. In addition, if I do a cleaning job for $200 and I used another worker, let's say for 5 hours, paying them $10 an hour, that's $50, like right off the top, right there. Then in addition to that, I got to take another 15% off, uh, which is another $7.50, or well, whatever per $100. So if it's $200, 15% off of that, so 50, yeah, another $30 off of that. Then I have to calculate in the mileage I spent, you know, uh, then all my supplies, my equipment, my labor to do up the invoice, my labor for marketing. Then I have my expenses that are already there that I have to pay no matter what, like my liability insurance, my business license, my bondage, and all that stuff. So in actuality, a job like that, I'm only making maybe $20 off that one job. So you have like when you have a business, you have to figure out what your average cost of doing business per job is, and you really can't do that until you get an average, I've been in business 2 years now, so I have an average of how many jobs I do a year, which I do like about 120. And just my cost of doing business uh, for every job I go do is basically $52.50. I figured that out. And then, so I have to factor that into my jobs. I can't do that in every job because some jobs are so small, I just have to, forego that cost there. But on average, it's 52.50 a job. So by the end of the year, if I factor in that 52.50 per job, then I know I can at least make this much money to pay the rest of my bills, like my personal expenses, like mortgage and electric, your utilities, your food, and all that stuff. Any loans you have, uh, it really adds up. But um, I think there really, yeah, there's positives to working under the table. I guess if you're the person paying them, um, it seems like a positive to you because you're saving like 7, 8 bucks an hour. Because in my situation, the reason why I had to get rid of residential cleaning services in my area, first off, I couldn't be competitive. There's too many Amish and there's too many Mennonite in the area that work for like $7, $8 an hour. Now, when I figured out all my numbers, basically, even when I was doing $15 an hour, that was way too low for cleaning. That really didn't cover any bills. It was just consuming a lot of my time, and then there wasn't a lot of profit on top of that. Um, so the lowest I could basically work for was like $20 an hour to actually make it worth my while and make it a decent profit. Um, but the Amish, the Mennonites, they run the market on like residential cleaning in my area, which is central Pennsylvania. And, people bring them in. They work for 8 an hour. They don't have to pay for their business license. They don't have to pay for any sales tax jobs. They don't have to um, be bonded. They don't have to have liability insurance. Uh, they already get substantial tax breaks just because of their religion, for being Amish and Mennonite. Um, they don't have to really pay for they don't pay for marketing. They don't pay for a website. They don't pay for any of these overhead expenses whatsoever. They just come, they do the job, they get paid cash under the table, and then they go home. And no legitimate business, at least in my area, can compete with that. Are there customers willing to hire legitimate business and pay them 20 to 30 bucks an hour to clean their house? Yeah, there is, because they feel like they want to do things the right way. But let's get back to, we have these people that are the low income earners, and why people think they benefit from being paid under the table when they actually don't. See, when you pay under the table, that's less tax dollars for your community. It's less money for legitimate businesses in your area to support your community and to actually even have a say in what goes on in your community in regards to state politics and such. I mean, the more businesses you have in your area, the more of a say your community will have in state politics. That's one big thing right there. In addition, the less taxes you have coming in for your local community, the less of a police force you'll have, the less better quality infrastructure you'll have for your community. Uh, the less businesses you have means actually a lower average of price for a house in your area. So by you paying people or paying individuals under the table, you're actually reducing the infrastructure for your community, you're reducing the safety for your community, you're reducing your say in politics for your community. You're increasing your crime rate. You are allowing, basically baiting immigrants, illegal immigrants as well, to come to your community, enticing them to come to your community because they know they can get under the table work. And a lot of these illegal immigrants, they come with some serious crimes under their belt. We had one there up in the Milton area that actually raped a neighbor girl who was a teenager, and then after he got done raping her, he stabbed her 22 times, and then he cut off her head. And that didn't make it into headline news. That happened like back in 2007. The only reason I found out about it was because the guy I worked with at the time, it was his cousin, and she was only like 19, 20 years old. And it was a legal immigrant that was hired, that was working for a business in the area, under the table. So the positives of working under the table definitely do not outweigh the cons of paying people under the table uh, in your community. You're actually really just slapping your community in the face when you pay somebody under the table to handle your affairs on your property, like including like your landscaping, your cleaning, anything for that matter. And I mean, if you have to be that cheap to save money, then maybe that's like something you maybe do yourself. You know, it's what I guess what I'm trying to say is if you were to stop this under the table pay engine, reverse it around, start paying actual businesses to come do your work for you, over time you're going to, as a whole entire community, it just can't be one or two or three people in your community doing it. Everybody's got to do it. If everybody wants to pay somebody to clean their house, hire a legitimate business to do it. Then over a time, and I guarantee like over a time span of probably 5 years, you'll see more jobs in your community, you'll see better infrastructure, you'll have more police officers on your street. And I'm not only talking about cleaning. I've seen illegal immigrants working on farms, on construction properties. I've seen Amish and Mennonite working on a lot of Amish and Mennonite working on construction. Amish are basically, they're in the same boat. Basically, they're Americans, but they don't apply for business licenses. They don't have liability insurance. They don't have business names. They don't have sales tax licenses. They don't pay. They don't hire a bunch of people for workman's. I mean, they're basically just as bad as legal immigrants, except they're Americans, and they get away with it just because of their religion. They pay some taxes, but not as much as an average American who does not belong to the Amish or Mennonite and such. So, I don't know, all this kind of got me going because when I read the article on that, the author was trying to be walk the gray line, trying to show the positives and cons of paying an actual business versus the positives and cons of paying people under the table and such. Um, I mean, another thing, probably a lot of homeowners don't know is like if you're paying somebody under the table and they're on your property and they get hurt, then that's your responsibility. They could come back and sue you. When a legitimate business is on your property, on your property, and they're insured and they get hurt on your property, they can't come back and sue you. They have liability insurance and workman's comp and all that stuff. And you can even request a certificate of insurance from your contractor that you're letting onto your property. So you got to protect yourself and such. So all I can say is that's my thoughts on it. And I guess I have a beef with illegal immigrants. Like my business, I've never hired illegal immigrants. I've never hired Amish, and I've never hired Mennonites. Have I hired independent contractors? Yes. You are allowed to hire independent contractors, but if you pay them over $600 for the year, then you have to submit to them a 1099 so that they can pay their appropriate taxes, which would go back into the community, at the end of the year. So this is kind of like my theory of if we reversed the train and everybody started paying actual legitimate businesses to do the work in your community, you would see a much better improvement in your community. You see house prices go up, you see less crime, you see less illegal immigrants, and it's actually not a theory. I just know it's a fact. I know it would work. It would probably work. You'd probably see a big difference like in just 5 years. Illegal immigrants wouldn't hang around your community if they couldn't get any work. The scary thing with illegal immigrants, you don't know what past they have, you don't know what crimes they have under their belt. And I mean, if you want to test that theory, just go to any city that's full of illegal immigrants. Look at how bad the crime rate is. Look how many unsolved murders they have and everything like that. They try to trace fingerprints to people that aren't even in a database because, they're from out of the country and such. And I'm willing to bet, I haven't looked at the numbers, but any city that has a really high amount of illegal immigrants, I bet will also have a high amount of crimes and assaults and rapes and such, and theft and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. That's my thoughts of being paid under the table. Please leave your comments or your suggestions below regarding that issue. And thanks for listening, guys. I'll try to make more videos. I'm in my busy season now. Like spring, summer, and fall are usually my busy time of the year for my business. So, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later. Alright, please subscribe and like my channel. Alright, bye, guys.